So I'm almost at my fishing spot. Well, halfway, a little over halfway there. And I like to talk as I walk through this stretch because this little section of timber here kinda freaks me out. Been a lot of, I've heard a lot of strange things in here and seen a lot of strange things. So, oh, sit down and take a break for just a few minutes. Maybe I'll, hang on here. Wow, good hike, man. Maybe I'll take a break for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and get an email out for you guys. Maybe I'll do one email here and maybe one down at right down to the river where I fish or something. So I hope everybody's having a good weekend and good week. Hope you're able to get out a little bit and do the things that you love to do, because it is important. It is important to do what you love to do. And my back is now finally starting to get a little bit better, to the point I can actually hike some of this stuff. This is some pretty rugged, as you can see, this is some pretty rugged country in here. It's pretty rugged and steep. And I don't know if I want to stay here and read. This is kind of the one area that I don't really like. It's about 1.5 kilometers or two, maybe close to 2 kilometers of this. And well, what did I do with my glasses? Gotten a lot of last 4 or 5 days, gotten another dozen emails from people, and actually some people that we've heard from before that have emailed in some more encounters, which is fantastic. I try to get a hold of everybody after they send an email. If they leave a number or whatever, I'll respond back to their email for sure, say, you know, and thank them. And then often if they leave a number and say, hey, reach out or contact me, whatever, I will. I'll try to get a hold of everybody. Gonna take me some time to get caught up on that part of it, but I will get a hold of everybody. And I will get a hold of everybody and have a chat with you. If you left me your phone number, I'll give you a phone call, have a chat with you. Because it's always nice to put a voice to a name and whatnot. So we'll get through these emails one at a time. You know what? I'm not gonna stay here. I'm gonna, sorry guys, I'm gonna just truck through here actually. I don't like this area. I'm not afraid of, you know, really not afraid. It's just like, I got a feeling in my gut just going, like I got a feeling in my gut just saying, keep moving. And maybe it's because the fish are biting. I don't know. But when my gut tells me something, I listen to my gut, and my gut's just telling me to keep moving. So I think we'll go down to the river, and we'll maybe read our email down there. Okay. This is my favorite, I think pretty much my favorite fishing spot. I fish this river, and I fish this river a lot, and then if I'm feeling really energetic, I hike up to the lake, and it's my favorite lake, my favorite fishing lake. And I've had a shitload of interactions up there. I've had so that the lake that I'm talking about is where all sorts of stuff, the bones, the bone pile, the carcass in the tree, the bones on the rock. I had those tree knocks that day that I had hiked in there and then went, no, enough of this, I'm out of here. So it's the area that Steve said he was going to hike into with me. And him and I were going to go in there and maybe spend a night in there. And I've spent a few nights in there before. Not a lot of sleeping going on when I go in there, but anyway, Steve and I haven't gone in there yet. We just haven't been able to get our schedules to line up, but maybe someday. It's just, yeah, it's a, I don't know, it's a different area. Anyways, well, I hope you guys can hear me. If this video don't work because of sound, I'll do another one, but I just couldn't think of a better backdrop than this beautiful river. And I got a nice cutthroat trout, and I got 2 nice steelhead. I got one on video, the other one I couldn't get the camera paused itself and I couldn't get it back on in time, so oh well. Got one on video for you. And I got to get rolling because I've been gone a long time, and Mrs. Outlaw is going to be worried about me. She's not going to be happy. I didn't like where I was going to do the email from on the trail coming in. I've been in here a million times, and that stretch there always gives me the willies, always gives me the heebie-jeebies. And I sat down to do an email there because it's nice and quiet and whatnot, and I don't know, I just got a feeling, my gut said, no, keep rolling, keep going, find a different spot. So, you know me, I always listen to my gut. Whatever. I know these people are here. We're sharing this area. So as I said, this area here is just the epicenter. There's a lot of activity in here with a lot of sightings from these 2 First Nations communities in here all the time, and I talked to some of these people, and they've told me what they've seen and how often. And I've been in here a lot for a long time, 17 years now, and coming into this spot, and yep, I've had rocks thrown at me and trees been banged on and been hollered at, and whatever, it is what it is. But I did not, when I stopped on the trail, I was like, everything was fine, and then I just went, like, I just had a feeling, my gut, right? Just listen to your gut. Anyways, what a friggin' awesome day. I really wish that everybody could experience this, because if this is what heaven's like, yeah, heaven's a beautiful place. But anyhow, I wanted to get at least one email read for you guys, and we'll see how the time is. Maybe we'll get two. Who knows? We'll see. But I hope everybody's doing good. I hope everybody in the U.S. had a wonderful Thanksgiving. The Canadian Thanksgiving was a while back. You know, us Canadians, right? We got to do everything different. I don't know why everything just can't be the same, but whatever. So yeah, a lot of Thanksgiving wishes, which was cool. So anyways, let's get on to an email here, people. Let's get on to an email. You guys watch my back. Watch my back for me. Who do we have next? So our last email was Jan Arfston's dad's encounter. So the next one, here we go. Buckle up. That's got a little bit of length to it, this one, but okay. God, I hope you guys can hear me. Here we go. Darren, I want to start by thanking you for sharing your passion for the outdoors with all of us, and also for taking on the task of being a place for people to open up and share. I too am an avid outdoorsman and spend most of the fall season in the woods hunting. I live in central British Columbia, so I've got a wide variety of game that I hunt, from deer and elk to moose and sheep. I also love river fishing, some of our remote rivers for trophy trout. I work in forestry as a timber cruiser, and I've been at it for almost 30 years now. It's a great job for someone like myself because I love the wilderness and I love to hike and stay in shape. And my job is basically hiking the mountains, assessing timber volumes and quality for the logging companies. I work in some really remote areas, and often I'm taken in by a heli to cruise timber patches prior to road building for the companies to access it. I've been a believer in Sasquatch since I was very young, when I first saw the Patterson-Gimlin footage that I still to this day believe to be 100% real. I have always been interested in the topic and remember thinking to myself, I'd love to see one of these things. I thought that for many years, until in 2005, when my wishes came true. It was early October, and I was working in an area west of Williston Lake. I know where that is. This spot was a block of timber that was about 3 kilometers from a block that was harvested maybe 15 years prior. I parked my truck at the landing and grabbed my gear and started hiking to the creek and started hiking the creek to the top of the mountain. The valley on the other side of the mountain was the timber I was cruising. It took me maybe an hour and a half to get to the boundary of the proposed block. Most times when I'm out in the woods, I whistle as I hike. I obviously don't do it when I'm hunting, but when I'm working, I whistle. Anyways, I was watching my GPS coordinates and slowly walking to make sure I was at the right spot when I heard what sounded exactly like someone whistling back at me. I stopped walking and whistling just to listen, but never heard a thing. So I carried on and unknowingly started whistling again. It's just a habit. All of a sudden, I heard another whistle, and this time it was clear as a bell. As soon as I heard it, I stopped, and immediately I smelled a terrible odor. I whistled loudly once more, but no response. This smell was like a dead, rotten animal, and it was so strong that I was sure I was right on top of it. There's lots of grizz in this country, so I always pack a Defender and bear spray. So I wasn't terribly worried, but I did start looking around for a partially buried animal, but I didn't see anything. The smell was still there and burning my nose, very strong. So I knew there was something around. I just didn't know what. I then thought maybe it was a grizzly itself that I was smelling. So I hollered, "Hey bear." When I yelled that, all hell broke loose, man. This bloody thing was maybe 50 feet from where I was standing, and it started bellowing and grunting like nothing I had ever heard before in my life. I locked onto it immediately through the timber, but it was mostly covered by brush and behind a couple of trees. It was breaking trees in half and banging them on larger trees and screaming like you wouldn't believe. I'm telling you, I was absolutely friggin' terrified. And I had the safety off the Defender at my hip pointed right at this thing. This thing was acting like a wild animal caught in a trap. It was going absolutely nuts, ripping shit out of the ground and throwing it towards me, banging smaller trees on larger trees, and screaming. I started to slowly move backwards, but didn't take my eye off of it. I couldn't see it clearly, but I could easily make out its body and head. It was on 2 feet, no doubt about it, and I could easily see its arms as it grabbed small trees, ripped them out of the ground, and threw them towards me. The sounds coming from this creature were horrifying, like something out of a movie. I kept moving backwards and slowly got some distance from it, and then the screaming stopped. But I could still hear its breathing, very heavy, like it was out of breath. I kept moving away, but never turned my back on it. I was probably 100 yards away from it when something ran from the left towards this thing, and this thing was maybe 3 feet tall. Really dark black, short hair, but stocky, and it ran right to where this huge thing was standing and went out of sight. I heard one loud grunt and then silence. I was still walking backwards at this time, and as soon as I couldn't see the figure anymore, I turned and ran. Now I know better than to ever run in the bush. It's the number one rule, even when you're scared. It's very dangerous, but that was the last damn thing on my mind. I probably ran close to 2 kilometers, constantly looking over my shoulder until I was out of breath and had to stop and walk. As soon as I caught my breath, I ran again. I got to my truck and jumped inside and locked the doors. I sat there for a long time staring at the timber, waiting to see this thing come out at me, but it didn't. I eventually started the truck and headed for my office. My hands were shaking for hours afterwards, and I was in absolute shock at what I had witnessed. I'm positive to this day that I stumbled onto a Sasquatch with a young one that wasn't right with it at the time, and I was a threat to them. I think that's why this thing was going so nuts. No differently than a sow grizzly with a cub, or a black bear with its cub. I wish there was a way for me to describe the kind of sounds this bloody thing was making, but I can't. I have a hard time even explaining it. Some of the roars sounded like a lion when they roar, and the other sounds were very high-pitched screams. It was absolutely terrifying, man. I've been bluffed I've been bluffed by Grizz and I've been charged by Grizz. But what I went through that day was in a league of its own. It felt like the world stopped and time stood still for what felt like 30 minutes. But I'll bet it was only a few minutes at the most. I talked to a lot of people after that day. My wife, my brother, my boss, and a couple of good hunting partners. And yes, I even spoke to a counselor for months afterwards. I got nothing but support from everyone, and that helped me overcome the nightmares and fear that I carried for almost a year and a half. My boss put me onto other work for a few months until I finally decided that I either go back in the bush now or I go back never. After 2 months of local sites, I finally went back to my normal job, and the following fall went out on my first hunt. I always wanted to see one of these beings until I did. Now I'd give anything in the world to erase that day from my memory. It took me a few years to come to terms with the whole experience, but now I'm doing pretty good. I always believed they existed. Now I know for a fact. And now I also believe they could easily kill a person if they wanted to. But I think, like humans, they'd only do that in self-defense or to protect themselves. I never did return to that proposed timber harvest. And the strange thing is that after what happened to me, that particular area never got logged. Weird, eh? Anyways, thanks for having a place for me and others like me to talk and be honest without being judged. It's important to be able to talk. All the best, John Stedman. I say it almost every time, holy shit. Again, frickin' my hands are shaking. Hair on the back of my neck standing on end. Wow, John. That is friggin' wild, man. Wild. I don't personally think I've ever heard anyone say they saw what they thought was a young one of these things. Never. I'm going to be looking over my back all the way out of here, and I got to go through that shit, that spooky spot. Man, why do I always get the scary emails when I'm way out like this? John, I know exactly. You said a few things in your email that really struck home with me. Because I too have been charged by a grizzly, and several times, unfortunately. And the one time in particular that I got charged, sorry guys, the one time in particular that I got charged, where I did almost lose my life. It was like time stood still. The whole event, the whole thing probably only took maybe a couple of minutes, but it literally seemed like hours. And I explained this in the video where I told the story about when I got charged the one time. And my life did flash before my eyes. And I saw my kids when they were little babies, and I kind of went through their whole life. Like, my kids are adults now. My oldest daughter's married, my youngest in a relationship, and they're in their mid-20s now. And this was only 7 years ago that this happened to me, and I still remember it like it was like it was last night. I really do. And you are traumatized. Like I was. You know what? It's PTSD. Okay, that's what happens to you. And I went through it for about a year, and horrible, horrible nightmares. I know exactly where you're coming from, brother. I hear you. I feel for you. I'm so glad that you're over it. I'm so glad that you decided to get back out into the bush again. I did the same thing. I was halfway through my hunting trip when it happened, and I kind of just wanted to go home. And I sat in my tent for a couple of days, never left. And then finally I was like you. I was like, I either go back out in the bush right now, or I go back out there never. And I was really worried about it. So I get it, brother. I hear you, man. I feel for you. What a friggin' terrifying experience to be that close. You know, we've heard a few, but like this, it sounded like this thing was absolutely out of its mind, right? And you know what? You're a hunter. It sounds like you're a very veteran hunter, and you know exactly what it's like when you get in between a bear and its cub, or a cow moose and its calf. I'm telling you, for those people that don't know, it is like nothing you've ever seen before, especially bears. Geez, that is insane. Appreciate it so much, man. Thank you for sharing. I am gonna contact you. I saw you left your number there. Appreciate that. Some people don't want me to contact them, and that's totally fine. I get it. They just want to share, get it off their chest, and move on. But a lot of people leave their numbers. I appreciate it, John. I'm gonna get back to you. Unbelievable. Wow. I don't know how long we've been going here. I don't even know if I can read another email, to be honest with you. I think I might just I think I might just call it good and get out of here, actually. I had just a few more, like I think this last 4 days, I've had like another 8 emails sent in to me. A couple from people we've heard from before, and then a couple people that I, obviously I've never heard from before, but a few people that I've heard from before, and sharing more experiences, and I really appreciate it. You know what? I didn't ask for. I'm sorry. I keep looking over to my right. There's something dark. I know it's nothing, probably nothing, but there's something dark there catching my eye. I didn't necessarily ask people to start sending me emails, but one person did. I shared my experiences with Steve Isdall, how to hunt, and so people have reached out to me, and it is what it is. I'm going to share them. I'm going to show you guys this beautiful wilderness that I love, and I'll read the odd email for you here as well. I can honestly just I can picture myself what John went through and where he was. Like, wow. I'm gonna I think I wanted to read another one, but I think I'm just gonna get out of here. I got a bit of a hike to get back, and yeah. I'm gonna grab the camera here and show you what's catching my attention. Cameraman. Let's just see if we can get this sucker zoomed out. And let's turn this thing around. Please still be there. Please still be there. Yeah, there's just I don't know, you guys, it's nothing. I know it's nothing. It's just, there's a dark spot there behind that tree. Just catches my eye. Oh boy. Okay. I think it's time to go. Thank you, buddy.
It's all about right there.
Isn't that a beautiful pool? This one's really tough to fish when the water's high because the fish hang out sort of over on that far side and it's really hard to fly cast out there. You got to just do some roll casts, but good pool. Nice spot. Gotta do some mountain climbing to get over here. My back's doing better. I'm glad. Not 100%, but I'm doing much better than I was. Bit of a trek getting up here. You can hear the falls here now.